is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra, Karina. This is lesson 8, part 2. Being unsatisfied about stuff is part of the living condition, said Karina. Well, you don't mean to tell me that you are, for some people, said Karina. Why, don't tell me that you are satisfied with your life, asked Miko. He added, don't forget the truth is the scheme of this class. Since there is nothing to be gained or to lose, I suppose I will speak candidly with you, Mikos. Yes, this is not how I imagine spending my time on this world. When I was way small, I used to fight evil and be loved by many, but then that wore off pretty quickly, due to the thankless bastard like you, no offense. Since I was unsatisfied, I then proceeded to collect talents. I wanted to be the best at absolutely everything. Being skilled didn't bring me any happiness either, and from then, I tried other things, and I won't get into details. The point is that I eventually found my peace by coming to terms with my anxiety about the future, said Karina. Oh, anxiety, geesh. Tell me all about it. There's not a day when I don't worry as of lately, said Babbitt, looking at Periwinkle. I talk about it to the listener, and it doesn't help one bit. Still, it does help my little baby relax and go to sleep, and then I can finally allow myself to chill. So then why do you marry Letodus? Asked Casimir. Because it doesn't bring me any problems and always offers polite conversation. There's nothing I hate more as of lately is people who disturb my peace. And which is my long-winded way of telling you that you are uncenized with your nonsense, Bobby said, Karina shaking her face at him. Said Bobby, sticking his tongue out. You're no fun. The pleasant conversation continued for a couple of minutes. Eventually, the peace was shattered by a person opening the door without knocking. The unexpected visitor caused Karina's heart to jump. It was her brother Rimaru. There was a gleam in his eye and a slight smirk on his face. He said, your placing killed one of your students. Oh, bother, said Karina, sighing with disappointment. I was hoping that the silly dagger would keep him out of trouble. And instead I had gonna make him into a murderer. Well, sometimes people don't act the way that they're supposed to when they're put in a stressful situation, said Rimaru, smiling. He added with a look of sadness, oh wait, the healer was able to revive him. Nothing like 700 bolts to kickstart the heart. What happened? Asked Babito. Who got aided? Was it Janus' solution? What about them? Asked Carneta. Yes, I'm not up to date on the town's gossip, said Miko. Well, you know that both have a thing for Karina, started saying Babiso when he was interrupted. Primo Dodin said it was not so much of a thing as a type of fixation. Humans are prone to those types of nonsense. Lucia was cured of his monotony by getting an exorcism. And he seems to have forgotten altogether out of his Karina. He seems to have gotten over his Karina fixation when he heard until he had heard about the wedding. I guess you can spend all your time teaching values and stupid nonsense, but in the end people always act in accordance to their true nature, said Karina, sighing. She added, I sometimes wonder if everything I did for people really mattered or not. Don't let it get you down, sis, said Rimaru. After all, we want to put on this earth to help others. And pray do tell me, why did you come here in the first place? Asked Rimaru, asked Karina. Well, you know why, said Rimaru. To be a bother, perhaps, a plague even, said Karina, echoing Rimaru's thoughts. An eerie silence entered the classroom and sat down among them. Karina suddenly sighed and she waited for Vicus to go on his way. Vicus in a departure, Rimaru left the classroom. In many respects, Vicus did not have to say or even gesticulate to let his desires be known. With Rimaru gone, Karina said, well, I better see what is left of Janus. Yeah, you do that, said Vilka, getting up and leaving the classroom. It was kind of loud for him to do so because he did not bother to change his current form, which was that of a very metallic wagon wheel. The way he rolled downstairs caused a lot of noise, which was punished by Vico wrapping himself around Vilkan for him to be more quiet about his proceeding. When the darkness around him subsided, Vilka was in the form of a very quiet-looking mouse. Time?
10 minutes.
Vilka sighed and he chirped, and then he left to look for the books to see if there was anything that could be considered new. With a big enough database of information, one eventually reaches a problem that everything starts to resemble everything, and Vinka had always dreamed of running into an original thought or idea. It was while browsing the library that he found it. It was a little doodle drawn on the page of one of the math books. It had been partially erased as it was drawn with pencil. The drawing was crude, but it at least was something new. Meanwhile, Karina was making her way towards her house. Her husband was there in addition to Flamen, the father of Janus. She could just picture her brother making excuses or throwing Letodus under a bus. When she opened the door, everyone had a somber look. Flamen got up and he came to Karina. Taking her, he said, "Oh, Karina, you must forgive myself. I do not know what came over him. I'm the one who is sorry. I should have just stayed home and not interact with anyone," said Karina, sighing. "Don't speak nonsense, girl. Janus has been a little odd for a couple of days, always mumbling to himself. And he kept saying that he recognized someone, and that he finally saw the truth of the matter, and the gods, and what else," said Flamen. "So if Janus is crazy, then why are you here?" asked Kano, entering the room. He added, "Get him to a listener, a healer. Take him home and hope for the best." "Well, our king's healing abilities are said to be stronger than the average healer, so please, my lord, help my son," begged Flamen. He would have kneeled, but then it would have been too hard for him to get up. The poor man had aged decades over a couple of hours. Such is the nature of sudden grief. Karina and her brother came to Flamen's house. As of lately, Flamen had been visiting the bar more and more in disguise, and for this reason he could not understand. And for some reason he was crippled by a terrible, overwhelming despair for reasons he could not understand. The only thing that had changed in his life was the introduction of the independent newspaper, and those that reported news from afar tended to paint bleak pictures of the entire world, and those news tended to make Flamen feel sad. And since Flamen felt ashamed of his son's action, he took the injured lad to his second home, the one that nobody knew about. By now, everyone knew that Janus had fought with Letodus in a duel. It had started with a knife fight, but it had escalated, and the island in which the battle took place still showed the burn marks, and the pieces still showed burn marks. Anyone who passed by there would have imagined that a dragon had caused a mini fire, and the nature of the damage had come through other means. Time?
7 minutes.
Well, Marduke walked with Flamen in silence. Eventually, Marduke was compelled to say to them, "I must offer my apologies." "You do not need to apologize for your sister," said Flamen. "What my son did was his own fault." "I'm not talking about that nonsense. No, I have just seen you a bit sad lately, and I now think I know what is the problem," said Marduke. "Look, sir, there is a limit to how much you can do as a person, and you need to learn to make peace with problems that cannot be helped. And once you learn to shut the outside problems out, then you will be happy again, my man." "You may be able to do that, my lord, but it is not in my nature to pretend that nothing is happening," said Flamen, realizing what Marduke was apologizing for. "Look here, Flamen, you can't take what people say seriously. And even when a fellow is telling the truth, that truth is not set in stone, and it can be distorted based on what a person thinks that they saw," explained Marduke. The pair continued to talk about the abstract truth, while Karina was abstracted herself. She was meditating on her life choices and trying to see what led her to such a mundane existence. As of lately, she was gripped with a certain type of boredom, and she found everything and everyone tiring, and she kept thinking over and over, "What am I going to do with my time?" Eventually, they arrived to Flamen's little house. It was a nondescript two-bedroom house with a small kitchen, wardrobe, an attic, and a wine cellar. Janus was in the attic, which was a study room with a small bed. The bedroom had a single candle for light, in addition to the small round window. Since it was close to dusk, the attic had a warm, red glow. Karina and her brother found Janus with his bedsheets tied in order to limit his movement, and as soon as he saw his father, Janus said, "I have to be." "Sorry, my apologies," said Flamen after locking the door behind him. He unstrapped his son and then he handed a jug for Janus to do his business. Janus seemed rather tired, with an unhealthy bluish tone like that of a drowned man, and he seemed quite sweaty, with shallow, rapid breathing. Time?
5 minutes.
Karina joined while Marduke became abstracted during those proceedings, and when Janus concluded his business, he said to Marduke, "So you come to see the monsters?" "Nonsense, Janus," said Marduke, patting his shoulder. "You are a very valuable citizen, and I came here with my sister with the intention of helping you. We do not punish crazy people whether we treat them as we would do any other sick individual. But the thing is," started saying Janus. "Don't think much on the matter," said Marduke, pushing Janus back in bed. When Janus was lying down, Marduke talked to me. "I don't really know what came over me," said Janus. "For some reason, it is just, I don't even remember anymore." "There are some things that cannot be helped, my dear Janus," said Karina, finally speaking. "The more you ruminate on the past, the worse it might become for you. Just forget about it and focus on your future. It is the one thing in life that we have some degree of control over. But please, if you can explain to me the reason why, maybe I can understand," insisted Flamen. "If I explain myself, Father, you will never look at me the same way," said Janus. "Once I feel more at ease, I will self-exile to atone for my crimes, and once my heart starts being heavy, I will return." "As you wish, Janus," said Marduke, departing. Flamen gave a despairing look at Karina, and guessing at the problem, Karina said to Janus, "If you leave, you will make your family unhappy. And if Letodus is a problem, he can go away with his father for a bit, and he will be allowed to return home once you make peace with him and what he is," said Karina. "That master should be destroyed before he has a chance to harm anyone," muttered Janus under his breath. "Yes, he should travel abroad. It is the best for everyone." Karina sighed and said, "If it will make you happy." "Best, very happy," said Janus. Karina changed the conversation, said, "So, what do you plan to do with your time?" "I don't know. I probably will just help out in the temple, preach masses, feed the hungry, works. Anything to keep the mind occupied for myself," said Janus. "Yes, helping others is a good way to shut out the little voices inside your head," said Karina. They talked nonsense until Janus eventually fell asleep. During the conversation, Flamen did not leave the room. While Janus was snoozing, Karina left the attic to follow after Flamen. He said to Karina, "My apologies for being a terrible host. Would you like some tea?" "Sure, why not? I haven't seen better to do with my time as of lately," said Karina, sitting down. Flamen started mixing the leaf and then the brew them, and then he served the tea. He asked, "Milk?" "Sure, 2 scoops of sugar, please," said Karina. Flamen poured the milk and he added the sugar before sitting down to face her. He took the teacup to his mouth, but he did not drink. He stopped a moment short because he heard the pacing in the attic. Sighing, he said, "That boy is going to be the death of me." "Only if you let it bother you," said Karina. "I'm not like you people. I can't rip out a piece of my heart like it is a toenail or a tuft of hair," said Flamen. "You're only saying that because I agreed to exile Letodus for your son's peace of mind," said Karina. She said, "I know what I'm doing. Give it a couple of years and it will be Janus who will beg Letodus to return to Veragerung." "But can you really wait that long? And what of Letodus' poor mother? Have you thought of her? She will be devastated without her boy," he added. "And what would they say about me? They would say that the king is playing favorites, and we cannot have a return to those days when the victim was punished and the perpetrator was allowed to roam free." Time?
1 minute 30 seconds.
"Relax, Letodus was also at fault. He should have not agreed to duel in the first place, but I did not wed him for his ability to make good decisions under pressure," said Karina. "I could go on, but it is mean to speak ill of a person who is not there to defend himself. In any case, Letodus has been suffering from a bit of a wanderlust, and this incident could be a good excuse for him to finally travel with his father, as he always wanted. As for Rita, I suppose I could give her a grandson to preoccupy herself with." "You're a monster," said Flamen flatly. "So I have been told," said Karina, sipping her tea, "but this is a mad family of monsters that have given your little kingdom peace and stability, so don't forget it." After saying this, Karina departed. Time?
Less than a minute.
Alright, let's just stop it. Bye bye and God bless.